So what a day, guys. I think it was an amazing experience so far. But before we jump into our closing note, I definitely want to say thank you to every single speaker who made the day today possible and who truly provided a lot of insights. I think it was really shining through that the event is about sharing experience, about collaboration, about learning from each other. There was so many conversations happening that I was able to see, to spot with people gathering and just exchanging. Now we have some kind of highlight actually in front of us, at least to me it is, with Thomas and Witalij. Witalij is like kind of, I'm not sure. Like, I'm trying to set the bar up high, right? That's like, that's where the standard is. You know, earlier I was trying to think about how would I refer to you guys? And I was like, discussing with my team even, and I was like, what words could we pick? Is it HANA veterans? Is that negative? Does it sound old? Is it aficionados, which is maybe too fashionable? But then Witalij was wearing these, like his shirt, and I feel like that hits the spot kind of, which is SAP HANA Distinguished Engineer. So
we both actually were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't pack my shirt.
There you go. So we have two distinguished engineers on stage that will now take us on kind of a journey about the recent years of HANA, from maturity to modernization and to the era of AI. With that, guys, enjoy the stage time. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, we thought we'd take you on a little bit of a trip down memory lane since HANA's turning 15 years old. And with that, we will look at a little bit of the past, but mostly a look to the future and the impact that AI is having on how we develop in HANA and what we can develop in HANA and how quickly we can develop in HANA.
And that the future is here.
Yeah.
And it is equally distributed.
Yeah. So there we are. If anybody wants to connect with us, I think those go to our community profiles, the QR codes.
No, I didn't update these QR codes.
Oh, do they not go anywhere?
No. But by the end of the session, they will.
Yeah, okay.
Don't try to scan these QR codes.
Yeah.
But the one that we used with Nora were actual. Okay.
All right, no problem, because I'll show you a website in a little bit that will take you to our profile. So, yeah, so we have a couple questions. As we look back in the history of HANA, we'll share some of our memories. And let's start with the one, when did you first hear about HANA?
So I worked as an SAP BW consultant at that time for one of the partners in the US. And I did a lot of so-called BW accelerator implementations. Anyone remembers BW accelerator? Okay, those of you who do not remember, this was, in my opinion, one of the greatest innovations that I've seen at that time. This is where the T-Rex engine that was used just primarily for the document search, someone looked at this and just like, we can accelerate BW queries with that. And it was blow-minding for me because as a BW developer, I used to the fact that business would hit the button and it would take 20, 30 minutes for them to get the final report. And with BW Accelerator, it was in memory, it was parallel processing, although at that time there were no multi-core CPUs, so it was like one server per process. And then they had this columnar compression already there, right? So this is where I worked with BW Accelerator, and then at that time, as I mentioned, I was external, and SAP came to us, and they said, you know what, we have this MaxDB team in Berlin, and MaxDB got we acquired one startup from California that has the pass-through from one database dialect to another. It was really funny for me when I was looking about SQL Alchemy as well. And then they said, we need to eliminate all these orange databases from all our customer installations, and we want to start with BW, and therefore we want to use this MaxDB pass-through as the pass-through between BW and your database, right? So this is why I started working with this, and after 3 years, when we were almost done with this bridge, they came and said, just like, we don't need you anymore, because we have this new product called HANA. So you are obsolete. But I didn't become obsolete. I did the second implementation of HANA in the US, in T-Mobile. I mentioned this in the other session as well. Like, we came with this 500,000 hardware, and then we loaded one Excel file, and then we created calculation view, and it kind of like aggregated everything in half a second. And it's like, what do we do now? So these were like my introductions to HANA.
All right.
And yours?
My introduction was actually more than 15 years ago. Because
mine was 2010.
Yeah, because mine was at Sapphire in Orlando. Hasso gave a speech about his vision for, what did they even call it then?
ICE, in-memory computing engine.
Yeah, basically just in-memory computing. And it was kind of like a PhD level lecture that he gave, and a lot of the audience was probably not that into it, but I found it fascinating. But probably the most interesting thing is right after it was over, I distinctly remember that day and that speech because my phone had a bunch of messages on it. My wife had gone into labor. So that's also why I know the timing on it, because my son is 16 years old. The other story that I have related to that was not where I first heard about HANA, but where I first got connected to it was Mike Eekert called me up and he said, we're building a HANA product management team. Would you want to come work on HANA? And my answer was, no, I'm not a BW person. I don't know anything about that HANA stuff. And he said, that's okay. I've got something totally different in mind for you. So that's how I wound up in HANA PM.
And I don't know if you remember, if any one of you remember that SAP actually decided to go into the hardware business as well with these appliances. And there was this project called Big Iron, where Palo Alto SAP office worked with some of the startups to build our own hardware stack. And as well, there was the idea for our own Linux OS that would called JUICE, which means just enough OS, so that to strip off everything that was obsolete just to make this HANA performance as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Anyone tried JUICE? Okay.
I had some with breakfast.
Try some beer.
Yeah. All right, next question. Which SAP HANA capability have you worked on the most over the last 15 years?
Yeah, so obviously because I was coming from this BW background, the very first one was the calculation view. And I don't know, Jan is still here? Jan Zwickel?
No?
No? Like, I saw him around and it said that he left because probably this mention would finally warm up his heart. So I spent lots of this with that, and then I thought this is pretty much what HANA is about. And then Craig Smechel, who was at some point of time my manager, he came to me and he just like, you are going into geospatial. I'm just like, going into what? And he's just like, geospatial is now big in HANA, and we need to talk about this. We need to promote this. So this is how I got into HANA Geospatial, and then happened that Geospatial was one of the multimodal capabilities, along with graph, along with JSON processing, and along with some other stuff. And I still remember the very first code jam I did here with Markus Fass. Markus, are you here? With Markus Fass here in Walder office, and it was about geospatial. And this is the one and only time when one of participants was younger than 1 year old. So one of the participants came with her baby, and she asked if she can participate in this code jam. So she put a blanket in the corner, and she was playing with her child on one side, and she was trying HANA Geospatial on the other side. So this is how I got into geospatial, and then obviously because of my background in AI already at university, when one of my other colleagues left, Abdel Dadouche, and he was our running machine learning expert, I was told, no, you are taking this over. And this is how we started working with Christoph. Yeah. Smile. And yours?
Mine would be the application server layer, because I started working on XS in those days, now known as XS Classic. Hopefully nobody's still using XS Classic. Hopefully everybody's moved on to XSA and or Cloud Foundry by now. But yeah, I've always loved the application layer, the full stack kind of look at things, and yeah, that'll bleed over right into what I'm going to show later. So.
And I still remember the very first workshop that we did for XS Classic in Palo Alto. So you were still on the product management side. I was in this developer experience team already. And then we had this canteen in Palo Alto office for 100 people. And we booked 200 people to come and to do this. It wasn't called Code Jam at that time. It was just like HANA XS. And I was just like panicking, how do we fit 200 people into 100 room? But apparently today we have about the same no-show as we got there in canteen. In canteen, it worked. Here, hopefully next year, we will have much less people who do not show up. So just remember, once you are back home, tell only good things about what you experience here, and we want to see each of you bringing one, if not two colleagues with you. Okay? Deal done? Perfect. Sorry, this is not.
Yeah. So on to demos.
Yes, and XS.
Yeah.
And XSA.
And it ties right into that. And continuing the trip down memory lane, I want to take you to 2019 and give a little history of a tool that I've been playing around with called the HANA CLI. So it started off, and hopefully I got a good, started off, I was actually working with the SuccessFactors team that were migrating onto HANA. And they had a lot of DBAs that didn't want to use HANA Studio and didn't want to use XS or XSA. They wanted to use HDI, but they wanted to do everything with command line scripting. So that's where this really started. They had a bunch of scripts, and they were handwriting them and stuff like that. We wanted to give them a little something that would give them a little more consistency and reproducibility and some checks on some of the inputs and things like that. So that's really where the HANA CLI started, was mostly for bootstrapping HDI in a non-XSA environment. That was the first command that was developed. Now I hardly touch the HDI stuff in non-XSA, just relying on HANA Cloud to take care of that. But over time, I added a lot of other commands, to help mostly DBAs, developers to quickly introspect their HANA systems, HANA CLI, system info, will let me see, what kind of HANA system that I'm connected to and how much memory it's got. And I can see we're super speedy this afternoon, but to look at my HDI container, HANA CLI tables command will give me a look at all the tables that are deployed in my target HDI container. And this goes really nicely along with CAP applications, because you're developing in your CAP application and you're not a pure database developer, you're writing in CDS, but you want to be able to look at maybe what you have deployed into the database, you want to look at the data, but you don't want to leave your development environment, so you've got the terminal right there, say you're working in VS Code or whatever, and you pop down there and you do a little quick check. So that's where this all started. And after after kind of got it shaped up nicely for the SuccessFactors folks, who decided to release it open source, and it kind of became my Friday afternoon project. Every other Friday, I'd get a couple hours in the afternoon, and I'd pop a new command in there or fix a bug or something like that. And people started using it, particularly on HANA Express, because they wanted HDI, but they maybe didn't have enough memory to run XSA, and this helped them bootstrap the system and get things up and going. But over time, I wrote more and more commands, and one of the more popular ones was the mass convert command. So let me help. The mass convert command has a lot of different parameters, and it grew over time because the whole idea was to help you move from XS Classic or repository non-HDI to the new world of HDI and XSA, or eventually HANA Cloud and HDI. It would take your artifacts that were developed in some of the older syntax and convert them to CDS to help you do a migration between the two environments, and would convert the syntax and names and stuff like that for you. But, it's got a lot of parameters, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. And it wasn't too long before somebody came to me and said, it would be really nice if there was a graphical user interface for this, because there's a whole lot of commands here, and my developers would be more comfortable if there was a graphical user interface. Okay, so I didn't want to introduce like a whole new server or a whole new infrastructure, so I just built a graphical user interface into the CLI. So when you issue a command like HANA CLI UI, what it actually does is start the Cloud Application Programming Model in place in the CLI. It runs a web server from inside the CLI, and then it opens your browser pointing to localhost, and voila, you have a graphical user interface, nice Fiori-themed UI that's really just executing CLI commands. So when I come here to my database objects and I list the tables, and we hit execute, and I should get a list of tables back here in a second. There we are, list of tables. If you actually go back to the command line, it's just sending that command to the command line, executing it. You still see the output in the command line even, and then trapping it and sending it back through a web user interface. But it's still a tiny little installation on the developer's machine, just a npm install HANA CLI, and now you've got the command line interface, you've got the graphical web interface. If that's what you want, you can go back and forth between the two, and now something like, mass convert has, lots of input fields with better explanation, better validation, and if you're more comfortable with the graphical user interface, now you've got that. And that made me think, well, if I can bootstrap cap from within the CLI, I can do other crazy things with it, because I can do another command here, HANA CLI CDS, and then give it the name of a table, any table, or any view in HANA. It doesn't have to be one that was modeled with CDS. It could be one that you created by hand with SQL. And what it will do is it will create a CDS artifact on the fly, inject it into a running cap service, and start the whole thing up. There you see cap bootstrapping. And now I've got all the cap introspection tools to basically, hit it with an OData service, hit it with a Fiori UI, whatever I want to do here off of any table or view inside of HANA. So if I want a quick look at what it's going to look like in a user interface, or look at the data real quick, I don't have to go build something. I can just run the CLI, and it will dynamically expose that for me. Okay? So now we're up to, late last year, middle last year, something like that. AI is starting to come along pretty heavily. It would be nice if AI could interact with the HANA database a little more, right? So I took the same command line interface. Let me just reset things here. And I've got HANA CLI, MCP server. I built an MCP server into the HANA CLI. And here's just a command that lets you see where you've got it installed. It will install itself into different environments. I've got it installed in Claude Code, in Klein, and into VS Code. You can install it into all these different environments. And now I can do things. Now, it takes a few seconds for it to come back, so I kind of did this earlier, but just so we don't have to sit and wait on the LLM. But it accesses it. It's now a tool that the AI understands. And when it needs to go to the HANA database as part of my project, it understands it can just query the database. And I can ask it questions, whether it's questions about the metadata of my project. Here, let's see, I asked it what tables exist in my project. And it came and it went to the HCI container and it looked at the metadata and it returned and said, here are the tables. It returned a query of all the tables. Then I started asking it data questions. I asked it, now this is a little Star Wars database. I love Star Wars. I did a little cap sample project that's based upon the Star Wars Wikipedia. Scraped the Wikipedia and dumped it into a HANA database. So you can ask it all kinds of fun questions about Star Wars. So I asked it, how many planets are there in the Star Wars films? And you can see here, it's generated a SQL statement. Select count as total from total planets from, the AI, the LM took my natural language query and turned it into a database query, sent the database query in via the HANA CLI, and then it answered my question in natural language. There are 314 different planets that appear across the various different Star Wars films. 314 of those are distinct planets, but there were 420 total connections, so some planets appear in multiple films. Did all that analysis for me using the large language model with the data that pulled back. I can also do things like look at my BTP target and introspect the HANA database itself. I asked it, what did I ask it down here? Oh, here I was asking it for what tables and views there are, and it explained them all to me. But I asked it, what was the health of my HANA system? So as a developer, I don't necessarily know all the admin views to go look at. I just say, how healthy is my HANA system? And it went and checked everything for me and kind of gave me a summary of what the health is. So no longer do you have to be an expert on all the technical stuff underneath the hood. If I'm a CAP developer and I'm not super comfortable with HANA, I can still get the LLM to do a lot of that intermediary translation for me. All right, so then where does this bring us around? We got an MCP server now built into the CLI, and then thanks to AI, I've been able to work on the HANA CLI. Someone actually, I've been able to work on it more. Someone asked me, they said, oh, you hadn't worked on it for a while. I thought maybe they had put it on ice. It was really just I didn't have much time. My Friday afternoons had filled up with actual work and not my side projects. But now that I've got Claude Code and other AI agents and stuff like that, I'm able to do a little bit more with the HANA CLI. And I thought, I kind of like working in a project view and browsing through things. What if I took the HANA CLI and I turned it into also a VS Code extension so that I just come here to the HANA CLI and say VS Code, and it will install into VS Code, or I can check the status. Let's make sure I've got it installed. Yep, I got it installed, got the right version. So now I can do things like, let me come here to where CAP generated all my HANA artifacts, my HANA-specific artifacts. And let's see here. I've got an HTTP view for the Star Wars directors. And now when I click on that, instead of just showing me the SQL syntax, which I can still get to, it instead opens the graphical user interface of the HANA CLI. It's not going out to any server. It's all running locally on my machine. It's just starting up the HANA CLI, which in turn starts up CAP and starts a web server and then displays the little web user interface inside of VS Code. And now I've got introspection of this view. I can see the fields and their data types. This one isn't super interesting because it's only got one field. But I can see the SQL syntax, the CDS syntax, the HTTP view syntax. Maybe let me choose a table here that be a little more interesting, one of the larger ones. Let's look at the people table, maybe. So let's look at that. Yeah. And basically, now I don't even have to do the command line interface. Just when I choose the artifact, the editor is linked up to it. And of course, I can still get to the original if I say open with. It's all very, very flexible, or anything else that I would have installed here, but I can configure how I open it. I've also got some palette commands, so I could come here to the palette and say open HANA Tools. Now the whole graphical interface is opened here in line, and just saves me the time of having to bounce around. So just trying to show you all the different ways you could do this, and this is still just a 50 megabyte NPN module. If you want to install all these tools that I've shown you, it's one command, npm install HANA-CLI. And then keep it up to date, you just, npm update. So Yeah, that's out there. It's an open source project. If anybody wants to contribute to it, I see some people in the audience that I know have opened issues with different feature requests. No. We got one here. I export and import right there. Finally delivered it after a year of it sitting in the backlog and me not having any time to get to it. Finally got to it not too long ago. All right, so that's the HANA CLI. Now, I want to show you another project that I've been working on, and this one's pretty exciting because this is something that I hope everybody in the room is going to be able to use in the near future. This is the new version of developers.sap.com. So how many of you here have ever used developers.sap.com? Ever used a tutorial, used it to find something? Hopefully just about everybody. Well, we have a new version that in a week or two will launch. The old version is written on Adobe Experience Manager. The new version is a CAP application running on HANA Cloud. So one, we're putting it on our own technology. Part of that was anybody that knows Riley Rainey on our team, he is retiring in a week. And we wish him the best of luck, and we're very happy for all his years of service at SAP, but we're sure as hell going to miss him. And we had to get this thing rewritten so that we can manage it without Riley. That's what it really came down to. But once we moved the content into HANA, the options really opened up for us. And we also want to use this site as a showcase of some of the things that HANA could do in the AI age. Because now we're going to have all kinds of things with AI to help you with your tutorials. So first of all, when I come here and I search for a tutorial, yeah, we've got the fuzzy text search, like if I come here and I search for HANA Cloud. But if I want AI-assisted search, I just press a button, and now Joul's going to open, and Joul's going to open, and it should have. There we are. Find tutorials about HANA Cloud, use the extended search concepts. So what this is doing now is it's going, every tutorial in the system is stored in a HANA database, and then it's stored in the vector store as well, so we can do retrieval augmented generation. The Joule client can really see all the content that's in the database, but we didn't stop there. Once we had that information in the database, we went out and we scraped help.sap.com and the CapIR documentation, the UI5 documentation, the Discovery Center, learning.sap.com, the Architectural Center, our YouTube channel, and a couple other places. And we put it all in a knowledge graph in HANA. So we have a knowledge graph and a property graph in HANA that can see all of this information. So now not only does it make you recommendations for tutorials, but it's going to also recommend content elsewhere in the ecosystem. So maybe let me just jump here. I know I'm running a little short of time. But I jump here to this calculation view tutorial. Not only do I have the steps of the tutorial, but I have related learning. And when I expand this related learning, maybe, come on, related learning. Why is everything so slow this afternoon? There we are. The related learning shows me the prerequisite tutorials, but this one also pulled in a learning journey and other tutorials, and then what to learn next. None of this is human authored, human maintained. This is all the knowledge graph analyzing all the concepts that are in the tutorial and all the concepts that are in all this other content that's available in the across the SAP developer ecosystem. And in fact, let me go to another. I just picked one at random there, but let me pick this one, perform S4HANA CRUD operations in build apps. As you can imagine, that's probably got a ton of related content. Yep. This one has discovery missions, it's got videos, it's got API references from the API Hub, we've got sample content from GitHub, and we've got other tutorials. So we would have never been able to maintain all these links. Our tutorial authors would go nuts trying to maintain this. This is constantly updated and constantly dynamic. Now, we have the ability to override it if something goes wrong, if it links something badly, but for the most part, we let the AI author everything, and then we can just review it. Of course, we have AI that will help you with the questions in the tutorial. You know, if you get stuck on a step or something like that, you'll be able to come here as well, help me with this step. And again, because, come on, Jewel. Here, let me clear it. Help me with the step. Oh, it bounced me back to step 1, but you'll see what I mean, because it's got all the content of the tutorial itself. It doesn't just answer your question in general. It knows really what was the content of that step and walks you through that step and answers your questions about the step. Well, when you get stuck in a tutorial, you no longer have to go find another human being to help you. You'll have Joule at your fingertips to provide you with more insights and more help. But we also took this entire knowledge graph. I come here and I look at this page on the knowledge graph. We've got 1,500 tutorials in the system, but we've got 5,945 technical concepts that have been pulled out of there. And every technical concept has a weave. You know, it's the center of its own graph, and it's got things coming off of it. And we've built both a graphical tool, which isn't working at the moment, so that's what it will look like. We've embedded it in the tutorials, but then we have concept pages for every single concept. So you can come here and you can look up whatever concept you want. I'm going to search for ABAP RESTful Application Programming Model. Okay, that's a good concept. And when I click on that concept, I'm going to see the tutorials to teach me that concept, the learning journeys, the help documentation, the discovery missions from the Discovery Center, the videos on that subject, the code samples, the prerequisites, and then the concepts that build upon this. So the problem we've always had is we have so much information in the SAP ecosystem, nobody knows where to start or how to find it all. That was one thing we wanted to solve with the new version of developers.sap.com. For developers, we wanted to build that web for you, and thanks to AI and technologies like graph, like the knowledge graph, that is now possible. And even the entire homepage, if I go back to the homepage, is both customizable. You can put in different things about what you're interested in, and it will customize the concept. But everything on this page is AI curated. From the recommendations for you, that's AI choosing what it thinks are the best recommendations of tutorials for you, the upcoming events, the videos, the featured missions, the community links. It's only pulling out SAP News and SAP Community articles that are most relevant for developers. So you're not going to see stuff there that isn't. Top technology clusters. All this is AI driven. So if anybody comes to me and says, why isn't my technology on developers.sap.com, I'll say to them, because you haven't published enough information on your topic for AI to pull it out as a key thing. And if you want it to show up on the homepage of developers.sap.com, get your teams to publish more about it, and then it will show up there. So that's a little bit of what I've been working on. Now, Witalij.
Sorry, I need to turn off Teams. Okay. Now, after what my boss showed what he has been working on, I don't know what I should show. What I should show. But basically, any one of you participated in this session that Neil did earlier today? And then she said, you know what, there is this generation and agents capabilities coming. And this is why I interrupted you. And I said, no, it came on Wednesday. So basically what I'm going to show you is something that was released publicly 2 days ago. Once again, and we are starting, I see, with AI text completion. So AI text completion is basically where you can go to let me just increase it a little bit. Where you can go to your HANA Cloud, and once you upgraded this to the latest Q2 version, you can now configure the connection with AI Core and Generative Hub with all the LLM models in there. And then you can start using these LLMs in your SQL using this AI text completion. So basically, I don't have anything too fancy here, and I even didn't include all these superheroes into the data set, but I have the really strange data set with all the Marvel heroes there. And unfortunately, it was the only table that I had in that schema, and let's say that we want to work with that. So let me just go to SQL console really quickly, and then hide this one. So basically, there is a table which has the names of superheroes from Marvel universe. And now, differently from Thomas, I didn't grow up in the US. I have no idea who these 3,000 of all the Marvel superheroes are, but this is where now LLM comes handy, right? So I have this table, Heroes Network Vertices, and then there is a name of the superhero, and I'm just saying, please show me, okay, sorry, I'm not usually using the word please once I'm talking to LLM. Who are these people, right? So it is using AI text completion. So basically, there is a connection between my HANA Cloud database instance and the AI core, and I can use all the models that are available in AI core. I should have shown this statement first, right? So we have Anthropic, Amazon GPT, Gemini, and so on and so forth. And then once again, just going back to these superheroes. So now I'm extending the data that I have in my HANA table with the data that is coming from the knowledge of the LLM, including in the SQL statement, right? And it seems I can read from Thomas' face that he has no idea who 24-hour man or 3D man or form.
Actually, I know 3D man.
Okay, so bravo for that. And this is, but because you just read? Or?
No.
Okay, you knew it before. But now at least I can be on Thomas' level and I can read who these people are. So this is in integration between the SAP HANA Cloud and AI Core. And if you want to ask, how do I know how to configure this? As Thomas was just presenting, on developers.sap.com, we have tutorials. And this is a tutorial that was created this week by another product manager in Canada who describes just these steps. So really quickly, if I just go to my instance now, after the upgrade, you should see Manage Data Exploration Tools. And in this Manage Data Exploration Tools, it tells, yes, you need to create the AI Core Service Key with X509 certification and upgrade this instance, and then enable NLP and Triple Store, and then provide the database user, and then we are all good. Because now I use this to index two of the tables from this Marvel universe. And what I want you to show, maybe not starting here, but if we go to the database objects, I have my tables here, but what I want to see is first the knowledge graph. So basically, now I have created, HANA created the knowledge graph for the tables I asked it to create. And then in this knowledge graph, if we look into what is in there, you will see that it says, this is the name of the column, this is the name of the column, this is the name of the table, and how all these tables and all these columns and views and procedures are connected. So this is where you are enabling now the object discovery from HANA for those objects that you want to be able to. And then the other thing is that it created as well besides RDF named graph, it created as well the table, which is called CCIDX index. And you will see that one of these columns is actually the embeddings of the text. And if we look into this data, then Anyone remembers my demo from TechEd, last TechEd? I'm the lucky guy. But basically, I have the table, and then I have the vector representation of the semantics of this table. So now if I go again to database objects, and one of these database objects types is procedures. I have two procedures. One is for database objects discovery, and another one for data retrieval. And let's say I want to use the data retrieval procedure. So generate SQL statement for the call. And I'm saying, give me a few names of superheroes from HANA, right? And now I have this human language question. I have no idea in which tables this information is. I have no idea what data types are, what the column names, and what is in there. So now the large language model is using this to find some of the names. So okay, it again gets like picked top 5, but let's say return in reverse order. Yeah. So I don't need to remember how to write order by anymore. And DJ hates me for that. But no, I do exercise my brain in some other ways still. But as we discussed, different databases might have different standards. But you can see that now it returned starting from Z and going in the opposite direction. And the last but not least, I showed in the morning the MCP server for HANA AI, and I was showing this only in the context of HANA AI communicating with HANA ML to get created some machine learning models and so on. But one of the tools now with HANA AI is as well to ask the same data discovery question. So if I copied this question from here and I go to Claude Code, now it is trying to find which skill it should be using, and hopefully it finds the right one from this HANA AI toolkit. And noodling, and here are the few HANA superheroes in some order.
I don't think it used your skill.
And I don't think it used some skills. But believe me, I should have not deleted the previous one. If I go into MCP server, okay, it is connected. Maybe let's try to reconnect. So you see that still as humans, we have some superiority over these machines. So they are useful tools, but they are still tools. But believe me, it worked. And with that, this is the end of my demo. Any questions?
Yeah, well, surprisingly already off mute. Yeah, let's see. Do we have questions? I was not planning for that because we're so close to the beer, but I think there were so many.
No questions?
Let's prioritize the beer. No, I'm kidding. I think there was so many interesting things. By the way, I like the superhero. What was it? Paladin, yeah.
Captain Cap Artifacts, Accuracy Avenger, Prophet of PAL. Okay, I believe not just us need some beer.
Oh, that's gonna be Christoph's new nickname, Prophet of PAL. I'm gonna use that. This is definitely gonna be a nickname. Volker, you have a question? All right, go for it.
Not really a question, but I can only recommend to use HANA CLI. It's an awesome tool. Please use it.
Yeah. I feel like after today, like the download rates are gonna skyrocket after this demonstration of HANA. So like, I definitely want to get my hands dirty on it.
Yes, and I, from my side, recommend to use this generative AI toolkit for SAP HANA Cloud. As you can see, it doesn't always work, but with your feedback, we will make this working much better and we will improve.
All right. Any further questions or any comments you have to the two distinguished HANA engineers, as I learned?
And you do not know how much you are insulting us, because this SAP HANA distinguished engineers, as you can see here, were invented in 2014 as a marketing program from SAP to make those who are publishing something about HANA to want to publish even more, right? So as you can see, Tom was the very first person who was selected to become these HANA distinguished engineers, and then the list went on and on and on. So, but we are not marketing dudes. Yeah, but we like free.
Not really. I think
stuff.
everyone discovered that today. If there's no further questions, I think you definitely deserve another round of big applause. Thank you so much. This was a fantastic closing of today.